You make good money, but you're still in debt. And no matter how many times you thought about tackling the debt, the math just isn't adding up for you. Because even though you make good money, it still doesn't feel like enough. Kid expenses, weddings, holidays, things that just popped up unexpectedly, all while trying to save money. So you think maybe a plan could help a little, but how's that supposed to work when there's barely any money left over after you pay the bills? Or you wonder, where's the extra money supposed to come from to pay off debt faster? Let alone stop leaning on credit cards just to make ends meet in the first place. And a part of you deep down knows that you can get out of debt, that you're not supposed to be under this debt that's costing you so much unnecessary stress and anxiety and missed opportunities, but you're just confused on how that can actually happen. And I get why that feels true, because you have the kid expenses, the weddings, the holidays, all the unplanned expenditures that keep popping up, all while trying to save money for your family to continue to progress towards other goals outside of just paying debt off. So that all is real. Nobody's imagining that money, those expenses, or those complexities. And if you ever tried a budget plan before that just felt like it was built for somebody else's situation, somebody else's life, it would make sense that you're skeptical if a plan could actually work to get you out of this situation. And on top of that, you're making minimum payments every month on your credit cards, which barely feels like you're touching the interest, let alone the overall balance. The doubt isn't irrational, it's earned. I get it. But it was never that debt freedom is impossible for you or that your situation is uniquely too tight. It's most likely that what you tried before wasn't a real working plan, with a legitimate strategy customized to your unique life, backed by accountability and a quality system working together to make sure that it's actually carried out. Think about a house with a hidden leak in the pipes. The water bill keeps creeping up and it's tempting to think that you need to shower less or just use less water. But once a plumber actually finds the leak and fixes it, the bill drops without you having to use less water at all. The point is, the leak was the problem the whole time. So a working plan doesn't ask you to find more money out of thin air. It just finds the money that's actually already leaking and puts it to work towards whatever financial goal that you're working on in this unique situation, that being debt. So to actually get out of debt, we need visibility into two things. The first thing being actual facts around your debt. What's owed to whom and at what rate? The second thing being real objectivity around your cash flow, and most people call that a budget. Together, those things often reveal margin that was already there, just unaccounted for. From there, a real order of attack, not just generic advice, tells you what debts to hit first and how to go about that. For the how, sometimes it's the margin found in the cash flow, and we fix the leaks, we're able to reallocate that money to go towards your debt. Another possibility would be using responsible refinancing options. For example, taking a credit card balance that's at a 28% interest rate and refinancing that into a personal loan at a 10% interest rate, or taking a credit card balance from a 25% interest rate and transferring that balance over to a 0% APR credit card. But let me be clear here, moving debt to debt isn't ideal on its own, but when it's done responsibly, it lowers your interest, it lowers your stress, it can even lower your monthly payment, it can enhance your credit score, and it can also, most importantly, help you pay off this debt a heck of a lot faster than you thought was possible. If used responsibly, refinancing high interest debt into better forms of debt can be an incredible way to benefit your entire financial situation, specifically the amount of money and time it takes you to pay off the debt. So when used responsibly, this is an awesome tool, not just a risky trick. And probably most importantly, having accountability along the way ensures that you're not just handed a plan and left alone to figure it out. So you're no longer bearing all the stress on your shoulders, and so the leaning on credit cards to just get by stops being the default. Because there's finally a system built for your real life with kid expenses, weddings, holidays, all included, not a fantasy budget that just pretends that those things don't exist and happen. And so when it comes to the topic of having debt that you feel like you can never get out of, it feels impossible, you can't see a way, and if somebody told you that you could pay it off faster than a decade, you probably think that they were crazy, even though every part of you wanted to believe it. And that type of thought process reminds me of one of our amazing clients, Katie, who just joined the Good Steward program about 3 months ago. And she gave a testimony and an example and a win that is so perfectly related to this topic that I'm going to read to you to give you all hope. And it says, I have to share a win. With the help of Brittany and Christina, who are two of our coaches, we have come up with a plan to consolidate my interest-bearing debt using my available credit and available promotions. So within a year, I will have paid off $18,000 of my outstanding debt, which is wild in all caps. Saying that number out loud has me shook. If you asked me even 2 months ago if I thought that was even a remote possibility, I would have been like, yeah, right. I'm incredibly grateful and excited for the next 12 months. When she dropped this a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this with the public, but I prayed on the perfect moment to do that. And as I was putting together this video, the Lord was like, yes, you have to share this because this is such hope for the people listening. Katie was in your exact shoes 2 to 3 months ago, right? No hope with her debt, even though making good money and being a disciplined person and a lot of other things that she's doing in life. And she joins our program, and a couple of months later, these are her results. And so I promise you, right, the problem isn't that life is getting really expensive, that you don't make enough, right? And maybe those things are a part of it. But no matter the situation, if you're put on the right system with the right strategies, with the right accountability, you will not just get out of your debt in the fastest way possible, but achieve all of your financial goals in the fastest, cheapest, and most trustworthy way as possible. That's the beauty in wise counsel. That's the beauty in having humility, saying that I need help, saying that, God, I know that the enemy's trying to convince me that there's no way out of this debt, but I'm going to believe that you have a way. And I'm going to take that next obedient step. And that's exactly what Katie did. And so I want to tie that into some scripture here as well, because I feel like the scripture that I'm about to read is one that's often misconstrued, and it makes us as believers walk around with unnecessary guilt, fear, and shame when it comes to our debt, which can really impact us making quality financial decisions. And so, especially when it comes to paying off our debt, and how that actually shows up is one of two ways, right? We either then, because of unnecessary shame, guilt, and fear, we have paralysis and we avoid the debt, and it lingers for longer than it needs to and costs us more money and time, stress, and energy than it needs to, or we attack it hastily. We go after it out of anxiety, and we just start throwing a whole bunch of money at it just to get out of it as fast as possible. And it has nothing to do usually with strategy or honoring God, but everything to do with just settling our own stress and anxiety. And so we don't want that to happen. And so I think actually clearly understanding what this scripture says will help you all with this. And so the scripture reads, it's Proverbs 22 verse 7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. And something I love to do when I'm breaking down scripture is let's talk about not only what does this mean, but what does it actually not mean? And so this isn't scripture shaming anyone for being in debt. It's naming a reality. Debt has a real power over your freedom, your choices, and your peace. And that's why freedom from it is worth pursuing. And it's not because debt makes you a failure, but because freedom is what God actually wants for you. And yes, sitting down, facing the numbers, looking at reality, putting a plan together, trying to have the hard conversations with yourself, other people, and God, and really just figure this thing out called finances. It's hard, especially when you have debt involved that's been lingering for a little bit and causing you a whole bunch of stress, anxiety, and money. But you know what else is hard? Carrying the constant debt month after month that's weighing on you in so many ways. So if those are the two options in life, we choose our hard, and we might as well choose the one that has a return on investment. Even though it's hard to sit down and address our finances, addressing our finances as a return on investment, avoiding it doesn't have any type of return. It only comes with missed opportunities, unnecessary stress and anxiety, unnecessary money spent, and a whole bunch of unnecessary shame, guilt, and fear, and lack of progress around your finances. So in life, we choose our hard. And so I just ask you, what hard are you willing to choose moving forward? So if this sounds like you, I can almost guarantee you that you do not need a bigger paycheck to get out of debt. You need a legitimate strategy customized to your life, backed by a real system and accountability to carry out the plan. And if so, you will get out of debt, and you will do it faster than you could have ever imagined, just like Katie did. So to help you with your finances, particularly your debt and many other things that go into having optimal finances, I put together a free course called the Biblical Finance Course. It's 6 modules, completely free but extremely valuable, that cover, yes, the best way to get out of debt, but also how to budget in a very easy and effective and abundant way, how to build an emergency fund to protect you and your family, how to invest and ultimately build wealth in a godly way, and so many other things that are so important when it comes to you having flourishing finances that reflect the character of Jesus and ultimately glorify God and help him grow the kingdom and make disciples. And so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I want to invite you to the free Biblical Finance Course. You can use the link in the description of this episode to gain access, and it literally takes about 2 minutes to set up. And so I hope to see you in the Biblical Finance Course. And in the interim, I hope that this episode was extremely helpful for you when it comes to that constant nagging stress that I know gets to be so old and exhausting when it comes to debt. I hope this gives you hope. We'll see you on the next episode.